At the Bottom of the Abandoned Well, Part 1. Maybe it was fear overwhelming my spirit, but the wind in this place felt colder, more deadly, and more sinister than ever before. It swept through my hair, down my back, then brushed past my shoulder, as if an invisible hand was touching me. It was already November, and my hometown was in the middle of the rice harvest season. Everyone, young and old, was busy with their tasks. Adults did the heavy work, children helped where they could, from the crack of dawn until the western sky dimmed and the sun disappeared behind the mountains. People rushed to finish quickly so they'd have time to clean their homes, buy new clothes for Tet, and, most importantly, go watch the traveling opera shows. Every year, about 2 or 3 weeks before Tet, troops from the district or even the province would come to perform in our village. They often staged plays like The Sword of Nguyen Ba, Lan and Deep, Lovers in Battle, or Cold Night at the Abandoned Pagoda, right beneath the ancient banyan tree near Mr. Tam the landowner's house. And so, once the harvest ended, every evening after dinner, we kids, our little gang of 3 top-knots, would beg our parents to let us out on the dike to catch fireflies, though in truth, we were sneaking off to watch the plays. The traveling troupe made our quiet village feel more alive than ever. The beat of drums, the sound of trumpets, the singing of lead actors, the cries of vendors selling rice crackers and sticky rice dumplings, the old lady Ba inviting people to her tea stall. Those were sounds we usually only heard during the day, so they felt incredibly exciting at night. We wished every day could be like that, lively, bustling, full of lights. We sat on a rocky ledge waiting, and eventually the show began. Soldiers and generals in regal outfits stepped onto the stage. A valiant king sat on a golden throne, surrounded by courtly ladies. The play had barely begun when dark clouds rolled in. Rain started to fall, some drops big, some small, soaking our shoulders. Lightning cracked across the gray sky, and gusts of wind whipped up dust and sand. The troupe manager had no choice but to apologize and promise a makeup performance the next night. We kids walked home in bitter disappointment. We had been so eager to see epic battles between heroes and bandits, a grieving mother waiting on her porch for her son's return from war, or Tui Kyo's tearful sacrifice of herself to save her father. Dragging our feet, we made our way home. Halfway there, the rain stopped, and the moon began to peek out. Though we were a group of 7 or 8, every one of us was terrified of ghosts, even though we'd never actually seen one, just heard stories told by our elders. The road back to the village was pitch black and muddy. No matter how hard we strained our eyes, we couldn't see anything beyond the vast, mysterious darkness. Mist began to fall, cold seeping into our very fingertips and hair. The ground was rough and full of stones, big ones, small ones, some sharp enough to cut skin if stepped on wrong. As if that wasn't enough, the road led straight through the village cemetery. The graves were packed tightly together like a forest of tombstones. The incense sticks on many of the bowls had long since crumbled, abandoned, battered by rain and wind. Some graves had even been dug up, by whom, no one knew. My grandmother said many of these graves dated back to the wars with the French and Americans. Hundreds died from bombings. For all I knew, I could have been walking right over a B-52 bomb. Deeper in, wild grass grew thick, covering the graves. Under the weak light of the moon, everything looked even more ghostly. In the distance, the mango and chinaberry trees stood tall like giant figures hiding in the shadows, staring out at us. Maybe it was fear clouding our minds, but that wind, it felt colder, heavier, like death itself. It brushed past my hair, down my back, then swept over my shoulder, like a hand. The branches rustled with ghostly whispers. The bamboo creaked and groaned like someone crying in the dark. Suddenly, eerie images filled my head, ghost stories, vengeful spirits my grandma had told me about. I couldn't stop them. I clenched my teeth, summoned what little courage I had, and kept walking. No one said a word. Even breathing became difficult, like something was pressing on my chest. The road ahead was dark, endless. No one lived out here, just weeds and trees. Occasionally, a distant dog's howl would echo through the night. We had only walked a short distance when a sound came from the bushes behind us. As soon as I heard it, terror shot down my spine. Goosebumps erupted all over my body. Sweat poured down my forehead and back. My heart pounded, breath quickening. None of us dared to look at each other, let alone turn around. We all knew something was behind us. Before I could say run, Tone reached into his pocket, grabbed a rock the size of an adult's palm, and hurled it into the bushes. "Are you human or ghost? Come out if you dare," he shouted. I couldn't help but wonder, what had he eaten today to be so brave? He was usually just as scared as the rest of us. After that challenge, the bushes went silent. The terrifying aura vanished. We sighed in relief, thinking it must have just been a snake or a wild cat hunting at night. I lifted my foot to walk on, but before I could turn my head, a pale white figure darted across the road behind us. The only flashlight we had, held by Ben, suddenly flicked off. I screamed at the top of my lungs, terror taking over. "Ghost! Ghost! Run!" The figure lunged. Its long black hair covered half its face. A white robe floated, hiding even its feet. Despite the weak moonlight, I saw the other half of its face clearly, a deathly pale face, with blue veins bulging, head tilted to one side, hollow black eyes glaring straight at me, cold, lifeless, like the wind before. I glanced at Tone, brave a moment ago, now pale as a sheet, drained of all color. The rest of the group looked no better. And then we bolted. Running like mad, legs pumping, hearts racing, not a single one of us dared to look back. Breathing became harder. Sweat poured in streams. The cold wind of that cursed place lashed against us, pushing our minds closer to the brink. One kid cried and shouted mid-run, "Mom! Mom! Save me, I'm gonna die!" Mud flew into our faces and onto the ones behind. Sharp stones and thorny branches scraped our skin, blood flying back into the wind. We ran until we finally saw a faint light up ahead. Without hesitation, we sprinted toward it. The closer we got, the brighter it became, and with it, our fear began to fade. Suddenly, a woman's voice called out, "Nam, where are you? You snuck off to watch the play, didn't you?" Even in my terrified, delirious state, I snapped back to reality. It was my mother. The light was hers. I ran straight into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Seeing me like that, she understood what had happened and didn't scold me. She brought me and my friends home. We each split off, wiping our tear-streaked faces, sniffling quietly as we went. The next morning, I woke up, tossed my blanket aside, and let out a long yawn. Suddenly, the horrifying scene from last night flashed through my mind, sending a chill down my spine. Just as I was about to swing my legs off the bed, a voice called out from the kitchen. "Nam! Come down and eat your porridge." "My mom." I quickly answered. "Coming." I made my way to the kitchen, and had only managed a few spoonfuls when Fook, one of the boys from last night, came bursting in, panting as he delivered some urgent news. "Did you hear what happened?" "What is it now?" "I just woke up, I'm barely even conscious and you're already here." "You still remember what happened last night, right?" "Yeah, of course I do." "That ghost we saw?" "It was fake. A prank. Set up by those brats from the next village." Upon hearing that, I slammed my spoon down on the table in anger. Damn it! Those little bastards. What the hell did we ever do to them to deserve something like that? Alright, I'm getting revenge, for all of us. Night fell again, and the traveling troupe resumed the performance they'd had to cancel the day before. This time, we skipped dinner and snuck out of our houses early, heading back to the cemetery. We were ready. Tone had stolen his sister's wig, been brought along a white dress, and I'd borrowed my older sister Hi's makeup box. We hid among the graves from dusk until the play ended and everyone headed home. Sure enough, heaven didn't disappoint us. Our two targets finally arrived. I quickly slipped on the wig, powdered my face ghost pale, and threw on the white dress. The transformation was perfect. They hadn't brought flashlights or sticks, gotta admit, they were brave. I remembered how they laughed their heads off last night while we were running for our lives. The rage boiled inside me. Climbing up the mango tree right by the cemetery's thorn fence, I waited. Tone and Ben hid on either side of the road, mimicking eerie howling dogs. Our prey froze, scanning the graveyard and the grass across the path, eyes darting. While they were distracted, I leapt from the tree. The two of them jumped and screamed, trying to bolt, but I had grabbed hold of their shirts. Panicked, they dropped to their knees and started begging. "Please, ghost sir, ghost ma'am, have mercy on us. We were wrong, so wrong. Please spare us, we won't mess with this place ever again, we swear." I let go and burst out laughing as they tore off down the road, screaming their heads off. Still grinning, I walked back and asked Ben and Tone, "Well? Satisfied now? Was that a good enough performance or what?" "Ha ha." But neither of them responded. I called out again, louder this time. Silence. A chilling silence that seemed to swallow everything around me. I figured maybe the mosquitoes got too bad, and they went home early. Pleased with our little revenge mission, I walked over to the old well in the cemetery to check myself out, admire my masterpiece. I leaned over the edge of the well, peering into the darkness. Even I jumped at my reflection. That's how convincing it looked. Then I hurried back to the village, crawled under the gap in the door, climbed into bed, and slept soundly till morning. The next day, I went straight to Ben and Tone's house, excited to retell the whole night to them. But when I got there, I found their parents sitting on the bed, crying uncontrollably. I rushed over and asked, "Auntie Hong, what happened? Why are you crying? Where are Ben and Tone?" Through sobs, Auntie Hong choked out, "We're crying because of them. They snuck out last night and haven't come back since. We've searched everywhere, but they're just gone. Oh God, what did we do to deserve this?" I froze. My whole body went cold. Fear and anxiety crushed down on me as I stumbled back home. My mind raced. Where could they have gone last night? They're terrified of getting beaten, no way they'd run away for this long. Sitting on the bed, I suddenly remembered the well in the cemetery. I ran out back and asked my grandmother about it. She told me, "That well's been there for generations. Long ago, a young girl jumped in, ended her life after being cast out by her family for being pregnant out of wedlock. No one dares go near it anymore. And no matter how hard it rains, that well never fills with water." My head spun. My knees buckled. I remembered the face I saw in the well the night before. Oh God. My mouth went dry. My throat tightened. I collapsed to the floor, cold sweat dripping onto the earth. Everything around me blurred. Before I could form another thought, I heard commotion from Auntie Hong's house. I bolted out the front door and ran over. What I saw wasn't the familiar sight of Ben and Tone sitting cross-legged playing hopscotch like usual. Instead, blood. Both of them were dead. Faces ghostly pale. Saliva trailing from their mouths. Eyes rolled back in terror. Their bodies were covered in deep, jagged scratches. The three men from the search party said they found them tangled in a bamboo thicket, dirt stuffed in their mouths. It took great effort to drag them out, and none of them could figure out how the boys even got in there. That gap wasn't even big enough for a puppy to squeeze through, let alone two teenage boys. Their mother collapsed onto them, wailing in agony, a cry so heart-wrenching, the entire village fell silent. It was the most horrifying sight I had ever witnessed. Then their father noticed something. Scratches on both boys' necks, faint, but forming letters. He stared for a few moments, then read them aloud. "You're next." Everyone looked around, confused, terrified. But deep down, I knew exactly who you was. That night, the opera troupe performed again, but I wasn't allowed to go, punishment for sneaking out the past 2 nights. The whole village had gone to see the show, leaving me alone in the house. Just me, and the cold. The monks chanting for the boys' souls echoed through the dark. Outside, the wind howled, slamming the wooden shutters against the walls. The candle suddenly flickered, then died. And then, a knock at the door. followed by a woman's thin, whispery voice. Continue,